Hey everyone, Gabriel here, and in this video I'm going to be showing you my exact strategy to scale dropshipping products to 10K a day in sales with Facebook ads. So this new store crossed 10K a day yesterday, and so I thought that I'd make a video sharing the exact blueprint that I used to scale to 10K a day. So first off, I want to show you some proof. So this is the store right here, and as you can see today it's done 6.6K in sales so far, and there's still a good chunk of the day left, and so I think that this will hit 10K today as well. But if I go to this month, you can see that at the start of the month this store was doing about 5K a day in sales all the way up to 6K, and then yesterday I deployed a bunch of new ad sets and we reached 10K a day in sales, and we're on track to do that again today. And so the profit margins right now are about 20 to 25%, which is really good if you're scaling on Facebook. Once you start scaling on Facebook, the margins start getting lower and lower because you're buying up more ad space, and so you have to pay more, right? And ads are expensive, and so it's really difficult to maintain high profit margins when you're scaling with Facebook. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into the strategy. First off, I want to talk a little bit about the foundation that you need in order to start scaling with Facebook, because a lot of people try to jump into scaling too early and then they don't get the results that they expect. And so there's a few things that you need to have down before you can start scaling. So number one is that you're currently profitable on Facebook ads with the product at a smaller scale. So you've started testing the product and you've been profitable. Your net margins should be at least 30 to 40% on a small ad spend, because like I mentioned at the start of the video, when you start scaling, your margins will get lower. And so you should only scale a product that you've been profitable with at a lower ad spend and that you know has been proven to work, and then you can start scaling it, and your margins will gradually decline, but you'll do a lot more volume and you'll therefore make more profit. So I repeated that here: do not attempt to scale a product that is barely profitable at a low spend. It's not going to work well. And I see this question all the time. People are saying, like, my product's doing well with $5 ad sets. Whenever I increase the budget, it doesn't do as well. That means that you need to work on making your ads better, or work on making your website better before you can scale. So don't try to scale a product if you're not profitable at a low ad spend. Now, another requirement is that you've already thoroughly tested different creatives and found at least 3 winning creatives. And so I talk about this in pretty much all of my videos. You have to test as many creatives as possible with Facebook ads if you want to be successful. And before scaling, I'd recommend that you found at least 3 creatives that are doing well and that you can use in your ads, because you don't want to scale with just one creative. That's something that I've learned over time. You want to scale with multiple creatives so that your creatives don't get exhausted as fast, and that you can switch them out when one stops performing as well. So that's very important. Already have thoroughly tested different creatives. Now, another point that I put here is that you need to collect enough data to test all different lookalikes. And that means that you need to have preferably 500 sales or more. If you don't have 500 sales, you can still test other lookalikes, but to really scale, you want to have a lot of data basically, so that you can create lookalikes for a lot of different countries and for a lot of different source custom audiences. And so I wouldn't recommend trying to scale before you've collected a lot of data, and that's usually about at the point where you have 500 sales or more. Another important thing that you need to have if you're going to scale is you need to have enough credit or cash to scale while still having money to pay for your orders, right? Because you're gonna need to spend the money on ads right away, and then if you don't have enough money left over to fulfill your orders, you're gonna have a hard time. There's gonna be long processing delays, and so you're gonna have a lot of chargebacks, a lot of refunds, a lot of customer complaints. So before you start scaling like crazy, make sure that you do have the cash flow necessary to do that. Now there's more things here. I put a foundation part 2. There's a few more things that you need to have in place. So you need to have a business manager account with multiple ad accounts. Now this isn't 100% necessary, but if you plan on scaling, it's a good thing to do, right? So you want to have multiple ad accounts, and that's what a business manager account allows you to do. If you sign up for a business manager account, you can create 5 different ad accounts, and this is important because by default, ad accounts have a 5K a day spending limit. And they don't tell you this, but once you reach 5K a day in ad spend, even if you're only halfway through the day, it's going to completely stop spending on your ads. And so if you want to scale past a 5K a day ad spend, you need to have multiple ad accounts, or you need to get on a call with Facebook to get them to lift this 5K a day limit. So for beginners, the best way is just to run multiple ad accounts. And this is also important. If one of your ad accounts gets disabled for whatever reasons, your whole campaign is not going to be completely dead if you spread it across multiple ad accounts. And so this is an important part of the foundation to scale a campaign as well. Now, another thing I put here is you need to have a good, reliable fulfillment system in place. So I wouldn't recommend scaling if you're using AliExpress to fulfill your orders. That's just very inefficient. Your packages aren't going to get shipped out on time, and if they do, it's going to be a mess to make that happen. You're going to need to fulfill a lot of orders manually, And so basically you need to have a reliable fulfillment system in place that you've tested and that you know works before you scale, because if you scale, you get a lot of orders and you find out that you can't fulfill them, you're going to have to refund all those orders, but the ad spend that you spent to get those orders is non-refundable, so your loss is going to be really big. So make sure that you have a reliable system in place. Now, second last thing is you need to have a good customer service team in place to handle the support requests. As you start scaling, naturally you're going to get a lot more customer requests, and you need to have a team to handle that. You can't do that all yourself, nor should you. So have a good customer service team in place before you scale. Now, the last point that I put here, which is really important, is you need to have a good conversion rate on your store. Even if you're profitable at a lower ad spend, but your conversion rate is like 2% or something like that, you're going to have a hard time scaling. The conversion rate is taken into account in the Facebook ads auction, and so Facebook's going to favor ads that are driving a lot of conversions when you're optimizing for conversions. So you need to have a good conversion rate on your conversion that you're optimizing for. So if you're optimizing for purchases, you need to have a good purchase conversion rate, and if you don't, you're going to have a hard time scaling, because once Facebook notices that you're not getting a good conversion rate, it's going to assume that it's not relevant to the traffic or whatever, and it's going to stop showing your ad as much. So this is really important. Make sure that you have a good conversion rate before you scale. And there's many different ways to improve your conversion rate, mainly improving your branding and improving your store design and improving your product page. Alright, so now that I've covered the foundation, we can move into the actual strategy. So before I actually dive into the strategy, I want to talk a little bit about the account structure, the ad account structure that I use to manage my campaigns and keep it organized. Because once you start scaling, you're going to have a lot of ad sets, a lot of campaigns, and it helps to have a good structure to keep everything organized and clean. So how I like to organize my campaigns is that I'll have 3 different tags for each campaign: cold, warm, and hot. Cold traffic is people that have never heard about your brand, they've never visited your website, and so those are, for example, if you're just targeting interests on Facebook or lookalike audiences, these are people that have never heard about your brand before. And so that is the top of the funnel. Top of the funnel because it's the biggest audience, right? There's a lot of people who haven't heard about your brand, and so that's the top of the funnel, cold traffic. So all my campaigns where I'm testing lookalike audiences, interests, I'm going to have the cold tag in it, so I know that it's cold traffic. Now I'm going to make a separate campaign for my warm audiences. Now warm audiences are the people that have already maybe watched a video of yours on Facebook or seen your ads, but they haven't gone on your website, they haven't decided to actually check out your brand further. And so on Facebook, that includes your video viewers, so 95% video viewers, 75% video viewers, Facebook ad engagement. Those audiences are what's called a warm audience. Now, the hot audience, which is the bottom of the funnel audience, is people who've actually visited your website and maybe interacted, maybe added to cart, initiated checkout, and even bought your products before. And so these are the warmest, that's your warmest audience, so the hot audience, and that's the most profitable audience. It's the audience that already knows your brand, and so that you don't have to spend a lot of money to reach to make them know about you, right? They already know about you, and you can sell them a lot of product. And so this is how I structure my campaign. So the hot audiences would be website visitors, add to cart, initiate checkout, and so on. So that's the first part of the strategy. You need to understand how to properly structure your campaigns. So I took a screenshot from my ads manager to show you how I structure my campaigns, just to show you that in practice what I was showing you in the last slide. So how I structure it is I'll have the 2-letter code for the store name starting off the campaign name, and then I'll have an underscore, and then I'll have either cold, warm, or hot, so the traffic classification, so that I know that this campaign is targeting cold traffic or warm traffic or hot traffic. Now this is pretty basic stuff, but having good organization in your campaigns will keep you a lot more structured, and it'll help you to scale easier. And then the last thing, I'll have another underscore, then I'll have the optimization, so usually purchase, and then for some campaigns I'll have PPE here. And then right after, I just put the country that I'm targeting for this campaign. I like to split my campaigns by country. And then I'll have a small description after that. So interest tests, LLA tests. And as you can see, I have a lot of lookalike audiences tests for a lot of different countries here. And so this is how I like to structure my campaigns, and it keeps it nice and organized. Now moving on to the actual strategy. So the first part of the strategy is to scale horizontally first if you haven't. So you want to test all lookalike audiences for all countries that you have enough data for. So by all lookalike audiences, I mean as many different source custom audiences as possible. You want to try them to build a lookalike audience from. So that includes 95% video viewers. You could also test 75% video viewers if you wanted. View content. View content tends to not perform the best for me, and one that I like to test instead of view content is the top 25% visitors by time spent, So this is another lookalike audience that you can test, and then you can test add to cart, initiate checkout, purchase, and there's a lot more. You can also test you know, the LTV purchase from the pixel. That is a new custom audience that you can build and then build lookalike audiences from. And then there's also there's a ton of different custom audiences that you can test, and you should test whatever you have the data for. So if you have a lot of data from Instagram, try building lookalike audiences from your Instagram data. That's something that you can do with Facebook ads as well. So test as many of these lookalike audiences as possible for as many countries as possible. And the way that I'll structure this is I'll make a cold campaign. So I'll just put cold, like I showed you before, for each country. And then in that campaign, I'm going to test all the lookalike audiences. So let's say I decide to test 95% video viewers, top 25 visitors by time spent, add to cart, and then purchase. So I'm going to decide to test 4 types of lookalike audiences per country. And then for each country, I'm going to make an individual campaign and then test 1%, 1 to 2%, and then 2 to 5%. And so for each campaign, I'm going to have 12 different ad sets with different lookalike audiences. Now, when I'm doing this, I like to have 3 ads per ad set so that I can test different creatives for the different audiences. Not every audience is going to react to different creatives in the same way. So what I like to do is I'll identify at least 3 good creatives during my creative testing phase. And then I'll take those 3 creatives and I'll put them in every single ad set for these lookalike audiences tests. And what this will do is it allow to identify the best audience plus creative match, and therefore get the best return on investment. Because if you just find your best creative, that creative isn't going to perform the best for all different audiences that you're testing, right? It might be the best for the audience that you ran the split test on, but when you take that creative and show it to different audiences, it might not react the same way. So I like to identify 3 good creatives, and I'll put those 3 creatives in each ad set when doing my tests. Now, during this phase, for each ad set, for each lookalike audience ad set, you want to have a starting budget anywhere from $5 to $50. And now this really just depends on how fast you're trying to collect data and how fast you want to scale and how much capital you have access to now. Because like I mentioned at the start, you need to make sure that you have enough cash flow to fulfill your orders as well, right? So if you don't have the budget to start at $50, you can start maybe at $10, at $20, whatever suits your needs, and then you can scale gradually, because you're still going to get data at $5 a day. It's just going to take a bit longer, but you're still going to be able to tell whether or not an audience is profitable. And so what I like to do is I usually start at $50 because I like collecting data fast. And so yeah, I'll have all these different ad sets at $50 and then sorted by campaigns, right? I'm going to have individual campaigns for each country. And so that's how I like to structure things. Now, in terms of scaling and optimizing these campaigns, what I do is I'll only make ad set changes every 2 days. And so a lot of people don't like doing this because you waste money. But the way I see it is I'm buying data, and I like to have reliable data so I can make good decisions on which ad sets to kill and which ad sets to scale. Now, you could do this every day, optimize your ads every day, but if you understand how statistics works, there's always going to be some ad sets some days that perform bad, even though they could have done well on another day, right? And so it's just not enough data. Even 2 days data is not really reliable, but it's better than just 1 day. So I like to wait every 2 days to collect enough data to make reliable decisions. After 2 days, what I'm going to do is I'm going to kill the unprofitable ad sets. And to determine if an ad set is unprofitable, you should know what your break-even cost per purchase is. And if you're spending more per purchase than you can afford to, then you should kill that ad set. And if you find profitable audiences, which should be the case if you have good data, your profitable ad sets, you can increase the budget 40% without duplicating the ad set. Facebook made changes, I'm not sure how long ago, but a few months ago, that affected the way how increasing the budget affects the learning phase. So back in the day, you could only increase the budget 20% at a time without throwing off the learning phase, and now I've heard that it's around 40%, and that's what I've been using. So I've been increasing the budget 40% for my profitable ad sets every 2 days. And at the point where an ad set reaches 150 or more in budget and is still profitable, that's when I'm going to determine that that's a good audience and that I can scale to this audience. And so to scale to a specific audience, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch to manual bidding. So I'll duplicate to a higher budget. For instance, $500 is usually where I'll start, and I'll switch to manual bidding. And so manual bidding is a whole different topic on its own, and I'm not going to cover that in depth in this video. And you really don't even need manual bidding to scale to around 10K a day. You can get to 10K a day just by scaling horizontally, by testing as many different lookalike audiences as possible and as many different countries. But when you do decide to scale an audience that you found is really profitable, so you increase the budget gradually to over $150 a day, and it's still profitable and you want to scale that more, you need to keep in mind the audience sizes. So if you're testing lookalike audiences for like a smaller country with small populations, and let's just say that a 1% lookalike audience is 50,000 people, with an audience of 50,000 people, you're not going to be able to scale like crazy, right? And so you want to keep in mind, like if you have an audience of 50,000 people, I wouldn't try to scale that to 500-day budget. And so what you can do in this case is you can combine multiple audiences that have a similar cost per purchase to build, and you can stack them in the targeting to build a larger audience. And then once you have a larger audience, then you can increase the budget and switch to manual bidding. So that's a little bit of an advanced trick, but it works well. So you do need to keep in mind your audience sizes when you're scaling. You don't want to scale too much and then just have the audience saturated really quickly. And a good metric that you can keep track of to see how many times people inside your audience are seeing your ads is the frequency. So if you don't use this yet, I'd recommend that you do this. You just pull the frequency column on your ads manager. And if you have a small audience, you might see that the frequency is shooting up really high. So for example, it could be at like 3.0. And this would tell you that on average, each person in this audience has seen your ad 3 times. So that's one thing to keep in mind. You don't want to scale small audiences too aggressively. So just to show you an example of one of these campaigns, this is one that I launched 2 days ago. And this is a lookalike audience test campaign. So this is targeting a single country, optimizing for purchase, and I'm testing four different types of lookalike audiences. So 95% video viewers, VTS 25%, and that's how I like to type out top visitors by time spent, top 25% visitors by time spent. So that's what VTS 25 means. And then I have buyers, and then add to cart. And so I have 12 different ad sets. Each one of these ad sets has 3 ads inside of it, and Facebook's going to optimize towards the best one naturally. And once there's a clear winner, I'm going to kill the 2 other ads that aren't performing as well. And I'm going to start scaling these ad sets. So that's what the general structure should look like. Now you could be testing 5 different types of lookalike audiences, and then you'd have 15 ad sets. And once you start doing these tests, you can create more lookalike audiences based on what's working well. So for example, if I can just quickly analyze this data, it seems as if the add to cart lookalikes are performing really well. So one thing that I could do right off the bat is start testing further lookalike audiences, because right now I'm only testing 1 to 5%. I could also start testing 5 to 10%. And another thing I can do is if, for example, my 95% video viewers lookalikes are doing well, I could start testing 75% viewers, 75% video viewers, or 50% video viewers, and start creating more lookalikes similar to these ones. And so that's also how you want to scale. You want to keep scaling horizontally, but these ad sets, I'm going to start increasing the budget today because they've been running for 2 days. And so the ones that are looking good over those 2 days, I'm going to increase the budget. The other ones, I'm going to kill them, and I'm also going to create more ad sets similar to what's working. Now, just the last couple of points to this strategy. So as soon as you start scaling, you want to really take advantage of your warm and your hot audiences. These will deliver the highest ROAS, and as this is obvious, this is basically just retargeting. But when you structure them by warm and then hot audiences, you can start building more advanced funnels. So you want to show them, an offer or an ad relative to where they are in their journey with your brand, right? So if they only know about, if they've only seen like a video and they've just shown awareness for your brand, but they haven't visited the website or anything like that, you can just keep showing them more videos, right? But if someone has already visited your website, they've added to cart, and they haven't finished their purchase, instead of just showing them more videos, showing them the same ad, you can start showing different pictures of your product, and you can also offer them a discount to encourage them to come finish their purchase. So that's just an example of how you can show different audiences, different offers in order to optimize your ROAS. Now another thing, 2 more things actually, is that you want to keep testing new interests regularly to find more profitable cold audiences to target and avoid audience exhaustion. And so this is important. You want to keep testing new interests so that you can target completely cold traffic and keep building up your audiences, and so you can keep refreshing your lookalike audiences. And so this is going to help you avoid audience exhaustion. So don't settle. Once you find something that's working, don't just settle for that. Keep testing new things, and this is really important. And same thing here, keep testing new creatives regularly to find new winning creatives and avoid ad fatigue. Ad fatigue is something that happens when you scale an ad for too long and then that ad stops performing as well. And so to avoid this, you want to constantly test new creatives, right? So that as soon as one stops performing as well, you can replace it with another one that's doing better. And so this is really important also for consistency and for just running ads at this scale, at making 10K a day or more. If you want to be consistent with that, you need to keep introducing new creatives and new audiences. Alright, so before I end this video, I just want to highlight a few more key takeaways. So first is to scale horizontally first to find your profitable audiences, and then start scaling those audiences. And this is really important. I talk about this a lot, but it's crucial, and you can get to levels close to 10K a day just by scaling horizontally. Now, the next takeaway is that you want to utilize all your data effectively, and by this I mean test all the lookalike audiences that you can, not just the basic ones. So like the one that I showed you, the top 25% visitors by time spent, some Instagram custom audiences. You want to test all of those, and you want to test them to as many different countries as possible. So all countries that you have enough data to build lookalike audiences for, you should probably test it just to see how it does. And this will help you scale a lot by targeting new markets instead of just focusing on a few number of markets. And now the last takeaway that I put here, which is probably the most important for Facebook ads in 2019 and beyond, is to test many creatives. Test a lot of different creatives to find the right ones to scale. If you don't have the right creative, you won't be able to scale it, and so this is extremely important. And even when you do find a creative that you can scale, it's not going to be forever, and eventually you'll need to put in a new creative that does just as well. And so just keep testing new creatives. And that's why I recommend focusing on one product at a time. It's one of the major reasons why, is that if you focus on one product, you can stay on top of it and keep creating new creatives and keep pushing that product to new highs. And so that's basically the main takeaways here. Alright everyone, so that is it for this video. I hope it was helpful and I hope you enjoyed it. And if that's the case, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I would appreciate it. And I drop videos like this one every week, and I try to make them as valuable as possible. And another thing is, if you haven't yet, make sure to join the mastermind group for this channel. It's going to be the first or second link in the description, and that group is extremely active. We're almost at, I think, 13,000 members now. Extremely active, extremely useful, and if you haven't yet, make sure to join that group. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time.